Obiora Ike, and I serve in the capacity of Executive Director of Globe Ethics Net with headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. The document Laudato Si of Pope Francis dealing with the environment offers us the hard facts. Our project is to share with you a webcast series on environment and sustainability. We are all aware that the world in which we live is threatened. Professors, we invite you to join our team of keynote speakers and moderators. Students, we invite you to attend our webcast and participate on our competition. It is a privilege and indeed an honor to share this great project with you. God bless you.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining the 2018 Globe Ethics webcast series today. My name is Stephen Duvall. I am the executive producer of CITVN and function as the Global Ethics United States Regional Representative. GlobeEthics.net is a global network of 195,000 persons and institutions interested in various fields of applied ethics. It offers access to a large number of resources on ethics, especially through its leading global digital ethics library, and facilitates collaborative web-based research, conferences, online publishing, and information sharing. CITVN is a documentary and webcast production cooperative business owned and operated by a Catholic worker movement community of homeless people. We copyright and distribute these lectures for free to 46,000 subscribers under a Creative Commons license to include over 20,000 professors in 216 universities and 16,000 parishes. Our presentations make use of educational fair use content. Our music selections are acquired in the Internet Archives, a repository of intellectual property that is submitted by content creators who offer Creative Commons license or permission to use their rendition of public domain copyright-free music. CITVN is an exchange of gifts with the poor. CITVN is our gift to you. This is a Zoom webinar. Following each presentation, we will invite you to ask questions and chat. If you're attending the web conference in Zoom, have a webcam, and want to ask the speaker a question face-to-face, please raise your hand. If you're camera shy and want to ask a question, or if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube Live, please feel free to use the chat and I'll be pleased to moderate your question for you. Feel free to talk with one another in chat during the conference. We want you to make new friends. So far, we have over 309 registrants from 76 countries. Today's keynote presentation by Meg Stapleton will be followed by a dramatic illustrated reading of Laudato Si. Before we get started, I want to mention that the United Nations Scientific Panel on Climate Change released a new report last month that paints a far more dire picture of the immediate consequences of climate change than previously thought, and says that avoiding the damage requires transforming the world economy at a speed and scale that has, and I quote, no documented historic precedent. I'll put a link to that report on chat in just a minute. Before I introduce today's keynote speaker, I want to remind you that we're streaming live on our Globe Ethics Live website and on the Globe Ethics Facebook page, where you can view the recorded lectures. If you have at least 5,000 Facebook friends, we offer to stream for free the Globe Ethics webcast to your page to help you grow your environmental social network. I'll also post those links for you in just a minute. Today's keynote speaker is Meg Stapleton Smith. Meg is a PhD student in the Theological and Social Ethics program at Fordham University. Her lecture will address how Catholic universities can implement and embody the central teachings of Laudato Si. Through theological reflection of Laudato Si, as well as critical analysis of sustainability efforts already in place in Jesuit universities, Meg responds to the following questions. 1. What would the structure of a Catholic university look like if it took global change seriously? 2. How do we calibrate our universities toward the global common good? And in the absence of leadership from Washington on climate change, how does the mission and task of a Catholic university change? 4. How do students across disciplines work towards liberation for the oppressed and for the planet? Ladies and gentlemen, Globe Ethics is proud to present Meg Stapleton Smith.
Before I begin, I would like
Stapleton
to
Smith.
thank all the people for Internet Television and Globe Ethics. Before I begin, I would like to thank all the people for Internet Television and Globe Ethics. Before I begin, I would like to thank all the people for Internet Television and Globe Ethics. Before I begin, I would like to thank all the people for Internet Television and Globe Ethics. Before I begin, I would like to
Sorry, Meg, we got just a little bit of reverb. Let me fix that for you. And if we're proud to present Meg Stapleton Smith.
Catholic Internet Television and Globe Ethics for hosting this forum on Laudato Si. Catholic Internet Television and Globe Ethics for hosting this forum on Laudato Si. Catholic Internet.
Okay, I think I know what the problem might be. Do you have an external speaker turned on? Okay. Okay. We'll try this again. I don't think it's you. So there we go. Okay, Meg, if you'll start speaking.
Thank all the people at
Okay,
Catholic
Meg, if
Internet
you'll start
Television and Globe Ethics for hosting this forum on Laudato Si. A special word of gratitude to Stephen DeVol for inviting me to speak this afternoon on Laudato Si, as well as a special note of gratitude. A special word of gratitude to Elizabeth Johnson and Dr. Chris inviting me to speak for their work in assisting me with this project, as well as a special note of gratitude. A special word of gratitude. The following paper offers a particular lens for how we ought to respond to the perfect moral storm created by the anthropocene, which overwhelms our capacity for authentic and integrated moral agency. I argue that in order to combat ecological complacency and environmental chronic irresponsibility, we need faith-based ecological education. Ecological education rooted in faith is, according to Pope Francis, what will bring about the ecological conversion we need to save our education rooted in faith is ultimately the goal of this paper is to demonstrate why Catholic colleges and universities should be at the forefront of environmental sustainability and how they can create a culture in which to combat the ecological crisis should be at the forefront of environmental. In order to explicate this central thesis, this paper will be broken into 3 parts. I begin by discussing the ways in which the current crisis in higher education demands that universities redefine their mission in light of what is most central and unique to their institution. Interpreting the papal document Ex Corde Ecclesia. The second part of this paper argues that the distinguishing character of Catholic universities is that its mission is born from the heart of the second part of God, and that as an institution it exists within the people of God. Is that its mission? I augment this claim by arguing that Catholic universities live out these guiding precepts by responding to the reality of the damaged Cremona. I augment this claim by negative contrast experiences of the damage humanum is ultimately what ought to define the mission of the Catholic University. I augment this claim by take this claim seriously, I suggest that the ecological crisis should be the paramount concern of Catholic colleges and universities. Seriously, I suggest. As such, in the third part of the paper, I offer a reading of Pope Francis's articulation of ecological education in Laudato Si, and offer ways in which Catholic colleges and universities can form ecological citizens for the future of our common home. And offer ways in which Catholic colleges and universities. The landscape of higher education in America is dramatically shifting. Escalating tuition prices and declining student enrollment are only some of the problems that colleges and universities are facing. The cost of tuition to attend an American college has increased nearly 400% that colleges over the years. As enrollment continues to decline and the price tag of a university education continues to increase, many colleges are being forced to shut their doors. The elite institutions that are able to keep their doors open are doing so by asking many colleges to pay up to $275,000 for a 4-year education. Are doing so by asking many colleges. The current crisis in higher education, characterized by escalating tuition prices and declining student enrollment, cannot go on much longer. The current crisis in higher education, as George Keller writes, the specter is haunting tuition prices, the specter of decline and bankruptcy cannot go on much longer. Some compare the reality of higher education to a soap bubble destined to burst. This is to imply that tuition prices simply cannot reality of higher education to a soap bubble. Once they reach a price tag that is too high to withstand, this is to imply that tuition will burst and inevitably even out tuition prices. Others refer to the current crisis in higher education as a water balloon with a hole and slowly leaking water until it becomes empty. Others suggest that the crisis in education is not even about high tuition prices and declining student enrollment. Rather, the core of the crisis is that the value of a degree in higher education will soon become insignificant. Unable to pay the price of a college degree, students will find other means of educating themselves and their communities. Whichever metaphor you choose, it is clear that the model of higher education is unsustainable in their communities. While a handful of universities across the United States can use their endowments as a safety net, the rest of universities are wondering how to keep up. While a handful of universities across the United States can use if it is in fact true that the bubble burst, that tuition prices of all colleges and universities will roughly cost the same in the future, how will colleges and universities distinguish that tuition prices of all colleges and will educational institutions be reduced to a question of who provides the best return on an investment? And if so, how will universities differentiate their return? Beyond questions about what financial practices and educational tactics will be sustainable for colleges in the future, lies a question of financial practices. In other words, the specter of decline and bankruptcy that is currently haunting institutions of higher education is forcing universities to redefine and re-envision themselves. One group of colleges and universities that are acutely experiencing this identity crisis to redefine Catholic institutions themselves. This is principally because these universities have an explicit historical identity and Catholic mission rooted in religious conviction. Because the mission statement of the Catholic College is not merely to form a rigorous intellectual community dedicated to religious thinking, though that of course is a part of it. Beyond this, the mission statements of Catholic universities entail within the dedicated commitment to the gospel, though that of course is a certainly Catholic universities are challenged by what all institutions of higher education are facing: how to survive financially in the future. Certainly Catholic universities, and yet Catholic colleges have a dimension to their fiscal planning that secular universities how to survive financially. That is, Catholic schools must question how their strategies can be integrated into a mission with a religious identity. Thus, university administrators are forced to ask how financial strategies for growth will fit with the university's commitments as religiously affiliated administrators. How ought Catholic colleges and universities will sustain their institution's religious legacy and enhance it for the future? How ought Catholic colleges and universities will sustain? This is the very tension that compelled Pope John Paul II to write on the religious identity that lays at the heart of Catholic universities. This is the very 1990, Pope John Paul II published the Apostolic Constitution on Catholic Universities, Ex Corde Ecclesiae. This document addresses topics topics such as the role of theology in the Catholic University vis-a-vis the magisterium, the relationship of the university to the local bishops, and the distinctive character of the Catholic University vis-a-vis the magisterium. Rather than outlining the specific content of the university, I would like to use the word the distinct theologian Catherine Mowry Acuna to help us explicate the two central and unique claims of the document. That the Catholic University is born ex corde ecclesia, from the heart of the Church, and that the Catholic University is in the Church. That the Catholic University is born ex Pope John Paul II claims that the Catholic University is born ex corde ecclesia. He is making a claim about the way the Catholic University claims that the Catholic University is born and activates the mission of the Church. He is making a rightly points out, the claim that the Catholic University is born ex corde ecclesia, meaning out of the heart of the Church, means that the unique vocation, characteristics, and tasks of the Catholic University, in the particular way it pursues its means of research, vocation, and teaching, are means by which the Church preaches the gospel. In the particular way, as a university, the Catholic University must be dedicated to scholarship that confronts the great problems of society and culture. But as a Catholic university, all scholarship, teaching, and education are in service to the message of the gospel. In fact, according to Pope John Paul II, all of the university's affairs and activities are in service of the Church, message of the gospel. Further, the Catholic University is essential to the Church's mission for evangelization, and that it assists the Church in the pursuit of truth, and enables the Church to initiate dialogue for evangelization. We are unaccustomed to thinking that the Catholic University is born from the heart of the Church, and that the ultimate responsibility of the university is to serve the Church. That the Catholic University is born from the heart of the Church. Acuna makes a poignant observation here about what it means to understand the university as being born from the heart of the Church. Acuna makes a poignant observation. The critical point that Acuna suggests is how we understand the word church. When interpreting the document from one perspective, the word church appears synonymous with the hierarchical magisterium. Yet, Acuna reminds us that the church is the whole word church appears synonymous all members of the body of Christ. If we only interpret the word church as the hierarchy, then we risk overlooking the most significant contribution of the document. That is, the university is born out of the heart of the people of God. Significant contribution. This analysis can be extended to interpret one of the more controversial paragraphs of the document when Pope John Paul II claims that the university is in the Church. See the slide more controversial paragraphs. Many were troubled by this particular passage, assuming the central implication was that the magisterium has ultimate jurisdiction over the Catholic University. Many were troubled by this following Acuna. We can challenge this narrow interpretation that the magisterium has claim that the university is in the Church ought not mean that the magisterium has absolute authority over university matters. We understand the word church in a way that is more in line with contemporary theology and ecclesiology as the people of God. And to claim that the university is in the Church means that the university exists, dwells, and abides within the people. And to claim that the university is in the Church, we interpret the word church as the people of God rather than the hierarchical magisterium. And we can elicit two central claims from ex corde ecclesia about the unique character of it rather than the hierarchical magisterium. First, the university is born ex corde ecclesia from the heart of the people of God. In other words, all university affairs, its mission, its research, its teaching, from the heart of the governing system must be born out of the desires, the needs, and the suffering of humanity. Second, the university is within the born out of the desires. As such, the ultimate task of the university is to immerse itself within humanity. The university is within God. This helpfully reframes how Catholic universities ought to distinguish themselves as they move forward in the future. The character of the Catholic University as Christian is not merely its relationship with the magisterium, rather it is the Catholic University's commitment to the people of God. Not merely its the connection between social justice work and the life of faith is an essential distinguishing feature of the Catholic University. The bedrock of Catholicism, its beliefs, its values, norms, and shared assumptions compel individuals to work for justice. Certainly, if the university is to understand itself as being born from the heart of the people of God and within the people of God, then service and social justice work are indispensable aspects for how the university carries out its mission within the people of God. There cannot be an explicit commitment to the people of God without a commitment to eradicate the forms of oppression that marginalize certain members of Christ to the people of God without a commitment to eradicate the forms. The call to place a commitment to social justice that is rooted in faith at the epicenter of a Catholic university is not an entirely new notion. We can look to the thought of liberation theologian John Sobrino as an example of someone who sought to articulate the mission of a Catholic university in light of a commitment to the people of God. In an article exploring whether a Christian university is really possible, Sobrino argues that a university's identity is not established by merely stating that it is nominally Christian. So too is a university's identity as Christian not simply created by virtue of its commitment to education, so too is the university's identity as Christian, or even the existence of theology, by virtue of its rather. A Christian university forms its identity from being at the service of the kingdom of God and making a preferential option for the Christian university. Sobrino contends that because a university is incarnated in a social reality that gives it power, economic, political, and religious power, a university can easily become a disincarnate from the reality of the majority of economic, political, and marginalized. When a Christian university becomes disconnected from the reality of the oppressed, according to Sobrino, it loses what makes it Christian. When a Christian university, the central concern of a Catholic university is thus not to defend the truth accepted a priori, but rather to help society grow in the direction of the kingdom of God. Is thus not to defend educational institutions, Sobrino argues, can fail to form students against the horizon of social realities, and as a result, can produce graduates who reinforce the systems that disadvantage against the horizon of social realities. As such, the measure of a Christian university is not religious practice, but service towards a more just human society. As such, in light of this, Sobrino articulates two guiding principles for a Christian university. First, the kingdom of God should function as horizon and finality for the university's endeavors. Second, the university must implement an option for the poor that finds ways to bring the university's endeavors into the university and lets the poor become a place for discerning God's active presence into the university and lets the poor. There are three key precepts we can elicit from the thought of Sobrino about the unique identity of a Catholic university and its mission to be born ex corde and to situate itself Sobrino about the unique identity of a Catholic university. The Catholic university must be incarnate in the reality of those who are oppressed and resist the forces, namely consumerism and individualism, that allow the university to become disincarnate from this reality. This augments with greater specificity the call issued by Ex Lege Ecclesia for a university to be in the people of God. This augments with greater specificity. Following the message of the gospel, the Catholic university must emphatically combat injustice and the structures of sin that perpetuate injustice. Following the message of the gospel, third, the kingdom of God should be the utopian vision that draws the Catholic university onward in essential religious conviction. As liberation theologian Gustavo Gutierrez contends, Jesus' announcement of the kingdom reveals to society itself as aspiration for a just society, and leads it to discover unexpected dimensions and unexplored paths. In other words, the kingdom of God is the Christian utopian vision, which reveals the glimmering of a just, loving, and egalitarian society in the midst of humanity's suffering. And so the kingdom of God reveals to Catholic universities their fundamental identity as Christian. Catholic universities are not merely seeking to produce students who can make a valuable contribution to society. Catholic universities should be seeking to produce students whose lives will serve and make a valuable contribution to society. Catholic universities. In order to further draw out what it means for a Catholic university to be incarnate in the reality of the oppressed, to combat sinful social structures, in order to further draw out to have the kingdom of God as a guiding vision, we can look to the work of theologian to combat sinful social structures. The starting point for ethical obligation, according to Skillebeck, is not some pre-existing divine natural order, but rather the damaged starting point for ethical obligation, moments where we acutely experience a threat to the humanum are negative experiences of contrast. Skillebeck identifies negative contrast experiences as those experiences where we suddenly say, this should not and must not go on. Acutely experience such as racism or global poverty, experiences of contrast. In other words, Skillebeck identifies contrast experiences begin with individual or communal awareness. We say, this should not and must, according to Skillebeck, in order to even recognize that suffering as an evil that cannot and should not go on. In other words, negative contrast, we must experience them as being in contrast with something else, something which is positive and good. According to Skillebeck, in order to Skillebeck, it is the vision of the kingdom of God that which ignites our indignation over the negative contrast we must experience. And so, although the humanum remains threatened, liberative currents are made manifest in the human refusal to acquiesce to the situation of suffering of God that which ignites our indignation. It is difficult to shake off the impression that in our current historical moment, and so the greatest threat to the human remains is ecological crisis. Currents are made manifested in environmental degradation and the breakdown of social suffering. In the epilogue of his book, Church, Skillebeck reflects on environmental issues and even refers in this context to the notion of ecological contrast manifested in environmental. As such, Skillebeck widens the focus of negative contrast experience by no longer solely concentrating on the threatened humanum, environmental issue, but also that of threatened creation. Skillebeck even criticizes humanity for its tendency to forget that it shares one creation with inorganic and organic by no longer solely concentrating on the threatened humanum. Before proceeding to the third and final section of the paper, let us briefly recapitulate the central points that have been articulated thus far. We established the need for Catholic universities to re-examine their mission in light of their unique religious identity. Before proceeding to the third, following Catherine Lacunia's interpretation of Ex Parte Ecclesia, we concluded that the essential distinguishing feature of a Catholic we established the need for gives it its fundamental identity, that it is born from the heart of the people of religious identity, and that it is within. Following Catherine Lacunia's interpretation, we explored these two precepts further by pointing to a thinker, John Springer, who has demonstrated that the unique call of a Catholic university, that it is to be incarnate in the reality of the oppressed, and that it is that structures of sin that perpetuate injustice, and to root itself in a vision of the kingdom. Finally, we look to the work of Edward Skillebeck in order to more fully understand what it means to be incarnate, to be in the reality of the oppressed. Such experiences, we concluded, cannot be limited to a damaged humanity, but rather must be extended to be included. Finally, we look to the damaged creation. When held in contrast to the vision of the kingdom, the reality of suffering creation, such experience ought to reveal the demand for ecological practice, but rather must be extended to be. When extending the significance of these thinkers to the complex reality of higher education, we may draw the following conclusion. If the Catholic university is to understand itself as being born ex parte ecclesia and situated among the people of God, when extending the significance of these thinkers to the complex reality of higher education, creation, with the central convictions of our faith, the Catholic university is to understand itself and seek to ameliorate that suffering. How the university responds to the suffering of creation, how it responds to ecological contrast experiences, reveal the university's identity as Catholic. In other words, to ameliorate what the Catholic university values is revealed in its very suffering of creation. significance of concreteness of creation, ecological contrast experiences reveal the university's identity as Catholic. On January 1st, 1990, Pope John Paul II published a document titled Peace with God the Creator, Peace with all of creation. At the outset of the text, he writes, "In our day, there is a growing awareness that world peace is threatened not only by the arms of race, regional conflicts, continued injustices among people and nations, but also by a lack of due respect for nature. At the outset of the plundering of natural resources, there is a growing awareness that world peace is life, not only by the he continues. Moreover, a new ecological awareness is beginning to emerge, which, rather than being downplayed, ought to be encouraged to develop into the concrete programs and initiatives. As he concludes this document commemorating World Peace Day, Pope John Paul II writes, "An education in ecological responsibility is urgent. Responsibility for oneself, for others, and for the earth." 26 years after the publication of Peace with God the Creator, Pope John Paul II writes, Pope Francis picks up the trajectory of ecological education started by Pope John Paul II and develops it with an increased sense of moral urgency. Pope Francis writes in the beginning of Laudato Si, quote, "If present trends continue, the century may well witness extraordinary climate change and an unprecedented destruction of ecosystems with serious consequences." Pope Francis writes in the beginning of this echoes the warning of Stephen Mulkey. If present trends continue, it is likely that we have only about a decade to take sustainability seriously, or we will lose the window of opportunity to salvage a livable planet for our children and grandchildren. Humanity faces a central choice: live more sustainably on this planet or face consequences that are incompatible with civilization, or we will lose the choice really is to salvage a livable planet for our children. In light of the grave reality of the Anthropocene, Pope Francis asks, "Can humans turn from being, quote, masters, consumers, and ruthless exploiters, to feeling intimately united with all that exists?" In light of the grave reality of what will be revealed in our response to ecological contrast. Can humans turn from being, moreover, does Catholic ecological education have the ability to create this necessary conversion to feeling so that we may save our united with all that exists? In what follows, I will note four key aspects that characterize Pope Francis' vision for ecological education. Catholic ecological education have the first and most fundamental facet of ecological education is that it must be rooted in the science of the times, the distinctive characteristics of the contemporary age. At first glance, this may seem like an obvious contribution. After all, Laudato Si is an encyclical offering an analysis of what Francis considers to be the gravest moral issue of distinctive characteristics of the although Pope Francis does not mention the phrase signs of the times in his section on ecological education. In fact, he does not mention the phrase in his entire document. The way Francis situates his conversation on ecological education is methodologically significant for this phrase of Catholic social teaching. In the preceding paragraph in his section on ecological he does not mention the phrase in his Francis calls for an open dialogue between religions and science. He writes, quote, "The gravity of the ecological crisis demands that we all look to the common good, embarking on a path of dialogue which demands patience, self-discipline, and generosity. Always keeping in mind that reality," he writes, "realities are greater than ideas." Here I direct you to the quote on your side, where Pope Francis is quoting from his own apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, in which he writes under a section titled "Realities are more important than ideas." Here I direct you to the quote on your side, where there are two noteworthy premises of ecological education that flow from this. First, the mission of the Catholic University must re-envision its ecological location. Earlier in the paper, we discussed, following Ex Corde Garcia, that the mission of the Catholic University is born from the heart of the people of God, and that the Catholic University must be situated within or among the people of God. Earlier in the paper, looking to the thought of Sabrina, we extended this to suggest that the Catholic University must be incarnate in the reality of those who are or oppressed. It must emphatically combat injustice and the structures of sin that perpetuate that injustice, and must place the kingdom of God as the utopian vision that draws the Catholic University onward in its central university conviction. Must be incarnate in the reality. In its practical implementation, this means that the mission of the university must always begin with the reality of suffering, and must negative contrast God as the experience, and strategize how the mission of the university can alleviate that suffering through its practical implementation. In light of Pope Francis, we may further suggest that the mission of a Catholic university is born from the heart of the ecosystem experience, and that it must understand itself as situated within the created world. Can alleviate that if reality is paramount for determining prudential moral action within the ambit of the mission of a Catholic, then colleges and universities need to reinterpret their position within that reality in light of the ecological created world. Given this, there is a call for the institutions for determining higher education to imagine themselves as an ecosystem within the larger scheme of creation. Their position within that. To be sure, universities do not exist abstractly from the environment in which they are. There is a call for immersing himself more deeply into the reality of the ecosystem. The first step for Catholic colleges and universities to take in forming a new vision of ecological education. Sure, the second premise that follows from this methodological shift is that ecological education demands the ecological ecosystem. For the university to immerse themselves in the ecological reality is at once a willingness to be transformed by a second premise and a commitment to help methodological shift. Is that ecological education demands the ecological ecosystem. Going from the central conviction that ecological education must immerse itself in the ecological reality and that the content of our education must be guided by that reality, is the call for environmental education to create a new covenant between humanity and the natural world. That ecological begins by institutions for education grounding themselves in the ecological reality so that they may become more attuned to the groaning of creation and respond to that suffering accordingly. The form of ecological education that follows from engaging in this reality, according to Pope Francis, must include a radical critique of the dominant cultural paradigms that guide our contemporary society, and we might extend the form of that guide the current vision that follows from engaging in this reality, namely rampant individualism and a mechanistic vision of the dominant cultural paradigm. For Pope Francis, the new ecological culture needed to care for our common home cannot be reduced to a series of urgent and practical responses to the immediate problems of pollution, environmental decay, and the depletion of natural resources. For Pope changes required are much wider and far-reaching. We need to develop a new synthesis capable of overcoming the false arguments of recent centuries. Environmental decay. I'll direct you again to the quote on the slide. For Pope changes required are much wider and far-reaching. We need to develop a new synthesis. It is here that Pope Francis notes how environmental education has broadened its goals in centuries. He writes, quote, whereas in the beginning it was mainly centered on scientific information, consciousness raising, and the prevention of environmental risks. It is here that Pope Francis ecological education tends now to include a critique of the myths of modernity, grounded in a utilitarian whereas in the beginning it was mainly individualism, scientific unlimited progress, competition, consumerism, and the prevention of the unregulated market. It is here that Pope Francis, in other words, ecological education cannot merely be about the individual acts that tend to assuage the conscience of privilege, individuals riding one's bike occasionally, recycling, turning off the faucet when brushing one's teeth. Ecological education must be rooted in a sustained critique of the individualistic mindset that is both harming our environment and our social like riding one's bike occasionally, recycling, turning. This is a crucial point in Francis's vision for ecological education. That is, in order to ameliorate the harm we have caused to the environment and prevent future wrongdoing, we need to assess and interpret the role of Christian discipleship and offer moral guidance without reinscribing the hegemonic forms of oppression that is, in order to ameliorate the harm of environmental resources and prevent future wrongdoing. Ecological education should prudently and scrupulously examine the roots of human injustices towards the environment in order to inform ethical responses to the answers. Without positing this task at the forefront of ecological education, we risk furthering the presence of domination that lays beneath our current posture towards the environment. As Dr. Elizabeth Johnson notes in her recent book, Across and Creation, quote, without positing this domination as domination has largely erased the community of creation, opening the door to unbridled exploitation of nature without ecclesial protest. And so our effort to educate ecologically is in vain if it does not entail an analysis of and subsequent pragmatic action against the forms of domination that lay at the intersection of human ecology and environmentalism. And so our effort to educate, in other words, our attempts to help the environment, if it does not entail the ecological crisis, will be utterly ineffective if they are not sustained by a form of education that challenges the individualistic mindset that is so pervasive in our modern world today. Our effort to educate, in other words, writes, our attempts to help the environment, our efforts at education will be inadequate and ineffective unless we strive to learn a new way of thinking about human beings, life, society, and our relationship with nature in our modern world today. The forces of domination that work to oppress both humans and the environment, we might suggest, are deeply interconnected unless we strive to. After all, the true efficacy of ecological education is that we might understand that the forces of domination that harm the marginalized are interconnected with the forces of domination that harm the earth. We seek to understand this connection so that we might erase the structures of sin that contribute to this oppression and bring the entirety of creation forces of domination that harm the marginalized. Forces are interconnected with the forces of domination that harm the earth. We seek to understand this. Colleges and universities, which form a part of the Catholic network of higher education, are not exempt from this radical critique of individualism and domination. In fact, it is essential to discover the ways in which colleges and universities in particular contribute to environmental degradation rather than ameliorate. Are not exempt given the damage we have already caused and are continuing to inflict upon our common home. It is as well as the increasing breakdown of social relationships. Colleges and universities we are faced with an educational challenge to environmental degradation. The question that remains is whether or not universities are contributing to the current milieu of extreme consumerism and affluence that reinforce humanity's common breakdown of social environment. As C.A. Bowers and David Orr have noted, most of our current educational systems are based in this very individualism and anthropocentrism. Modern anthropocentrism subtly permeates curricula in most parts of the world. As C.A. David Orr points out, that the ecological crisis is mainly caused by some of the best educated individuals society. According to Orr, the main focus of current educational curricula sets economic growth as the highest achievement of success, and thus only prepares students to compete in a world economy. This is precisely the vision of education that Pope Francis writes, quote, disinterested concern for others and the rejection of every form of self-centeredness and self-absorption are essential if we truly wish to care for our brothers and sisters in the vision of education that These attitudes also attune us to the moral imperative of assessing the impact of our every action and the rejection of every form of self-centeredness and self-absorption are essential. If we are to truly overcome individualism and the ways in which that negatively manifests itself in our degradation of the environment, then we need educational leadership that dares us to scrutinize its own method of educating. We need a model of educational leadership that risks understanding itself in the ways in which domination that contributes to the individualistic and materialistic society of which we are part, so that it might be able to offer a counter-narrative that is rooted in faith. We need a model of educational leadership that risks understanding itself in the ways in which one of the most intriguing and often overlooked aspects of Pope Francis's discussion of ecological education is his language of virtue. It might be able to offer. Of course, Pope Francis is not the first pope to employ the language of virtue in leadership. We can think here of Pope John Paul II's articulation of solidarity as a virtue and solicitudo education. Francis contends that ecological education needs to instill good habits. Only by cultivating sound virtues, we can think, Francis argues, will people will be able to make self-reflective ecological using the language of virtue intends that ecological education for the language of virtue is bound up in the language of human virtues. We can think ecological education for Francis must be rooted in virtue because it is a necessary part of using the language of authentic human flourishing. Francis does not give an explicit definition of virtue in the encyclical or fully explicate its ecological education or flourishing in an ecological virtue. However, we might come to understand Francis's use of virtue in the encyclical in light of how St. Maximus does not give an explicit definition. For St. Maximus, communion with God is simultaneous to the acquisition of virtue. Virtue is embodied. However, we might come to understand the human is created to learn how to love, and this exists in constant tension against that which weakens St. Maximus to love. Communion with God is we understand virtue not as the building of character for character's sake, but as the enabling of the human capacity to learn how to love. It is a wiring of the self intention to come against that which weakens St. Maximus. St. Maximus says in his 400 chapters on virtue, all the virtues assist the mind in the pursuit of divine love, but as the enabling. Moreover, for St. Maximus, love is not a mode we strive for individually, but communally. St. Maximus the Confessor offers a key conceptual point into the necessity of virtue for ecological education. That is, moreover, we should desire to be formed by ecological education, not out of duty or of obligation, but as something that enables our human capacity for love, virtue, and human flourishing. St. Maximus' definition of virtue also elicits a powerful tension that contemporary Christians continue to face today. When we consider, together with Pope Francis and sociologist Robert Bellah, that individualism lies at the very core of St. Maximus' definition of virtue, that what we love and desire are societally driven towards material possessions, wealth, when we consider, rather than understanding our interconnectedness with all creation. At the very core of the tendency towards individualism and materialism thus stands in direct contrast to the web of right relationship that Francis is calling us to in his vision of integral ecology. The willingness to develop ecological virtues is thus a willingness to relinquish those things that society tells us thus stands money, contrast to how web of right relationship. As such, Francis employs the language of virtue as a means to suggest that ecological education demands a reordering of our desires beyond what is right and wrong and beyond what is good or bad. Lies Francis's ethical conviction that in order to care for our common home, we must reorder our desires so that we may enhance our capacity for ecologically sustainable relationships and beyond. Although this is fundamentally a call for individuals to habituate virtuous action, so too is it a call for institutions of higher education to reorder their enhance our capacity. Pope Francis may agree here with Aristotle that humans are social beings who depend upon the well-being of a social collectivity for their own well-being. So too is it for Aristotle, not just any collectivity will serve the social needs of humans. Pope Francis may agree it is only the good wholes that one who become properly trained upon well-being have the right opportunities for its practice and have others with whom to share the gospel, not just any collectivity. And so we need colleges and universities to create a culture where ecological virtues might flourish, that one where students may become ecological citizens, have the right opportunities for its practice and have others. Pope Francis proposes a vision of ecological education that holistically seeks to, quote, restore the various levels of ecological equilibrium, establishing harmony with ourselves, with others, and with nature and other living creatures, a vision and with God. After all, Laudato Si is an encyclical of relationships, drawing attention to a profound rupture in our relationship with the Creator, establishing with one another and with the earth. In the final chapter of his encyclical, Pope Francis proposes a vision of holistic ecological education that educates students is to become responsible members of the wider human community and citizens of the biotic community and with the earth. For Francis, holistic ecological education leads to a greater sense of solidarity with the human and non-human animal family, especially with the more vulnerable members of our community and citizens of the biotic community. Ecological education needs educators capable of developing an ethics of ecology and helping people through effective pedagogy to grow in solidarity, responsibility, and compassionate care. There is a need, as Elizabeth Johnson notes, to reimagine ourselves as a species. And ethics of mirroring quote Francis here, Johnson continues, quote, certainly we are distinct from other species in compassionate care, as indeed they are from there is a need, but we are also kin. We have magnified the distinction and forgotten the mirroring. If we reimagine ourselves as part of God's good creation, then we could grow into a new way of being human that enhances rather than diminishes the life of other creatures. We have magnified the distinction. Ecological education is complete only when it succeeds in implicating the profound sense that we are interconnected with all creation. The measure of ecological education is its ability to produce ecological citizens who see themselves as ecological with all creation and engage in direct forms of ecological practice because we are interconnected with all creation. The measure of ecological education is its ability to. We are left with one final question. What is the task of the Catholic University in light of the current ecological crisis? If we take Pope Francis's vision for ecological education seriously, if we let our convictions be informed by the ecological reality, what is the task? If we radically critique societal paradigms of domination, and if we ecologically envision our educational institutions as in kinship with the created order, so that they may embody a culture where ecological virtues may flourish, then we will be venturing into uncharted territory. As a result of this, we need educational leadership from Catholic colleges and universities that are willing to embody the virtue of courage to enter into the unknown. In the words of Pope Francis, we need leadership that will, quote, facilitate making the leap towards the transcendent. We need ecological ethics, its deepest meaning, that are willing to embody the virtue. In the final chapter of the encyclical, Francis quotes the words of courageous challenge promulgated by the Earth Charter, facilitate making the leap towards the as never before in history, common destiny beckons us to seek a new beginning. Let ours be a time remembered for the awakening of a new reverence for life, the firm resolve to achieve sustainability, promulgated by the quickening of the struggle for justice and peace, and the joyful celebration of life. Ultimately, Pope Francis's vision is calling us to understand that ecological education is a courageous challenge, which demands that we, as a moral community, move towards an unknown future. And the joyful celebration will be critical, especially for those Catholic colleges and universities calling on our warn that citizens for our common home. If Catholic institutions of higher education truly let their educational vision be guided by the ecological reality, then they need to have the courage to risk abandoning familiar but unworkable theological and ethical categories if Catholic perpetuated harm to their educational vision, as Martha Nussbaum argues in her work, The Fragility of Goodness. Though human life is inherently exposed to harm, there are certain powers, namely human virtues, that are only available in the realm of vulnerability. Drawing on Aristotle's ethics, she posits that the pursuit of human goodness is fundamentally human life is contingent on external goods and subject to the possibility of namely human virtues. The features of human life that expose us to misfortunes are precisely those dimensions of our condition that make possible our experiences of love, joy, beauty, and truth. Contingent on what we are striving for in ecological ethics is new patterns of relation. Features of human life characterized not by domination, but by sustainability, adaptability, relationality, equity, solidarity, biodiversity, and humility. We are striving. We need to be willing to live in the midst of patterns of relationships, and we must allow that will not to reorder our desires by sustainability, so that we might learn how to love one another and all of God's creation.
Solidarity, biodiversity, and humility.
We are striving
You need to be willing.
The target audience of this paper is administrators and positions of power at Catholic colleges and universities, so that we can conclude by calling particular attention and all of God's creation.
Solidarity,
Those involved in mission integration at Catholic institutions, the target audience of this paper takes my analysis seriously, and they will place the ecological crisis at the forefront of their university's mission. That is to say, all of the endeavors and affairs of the university
mission integration
seek God's reign for justice in the midst of the ecological crisis.
and they will place
Catholic colleges and universities, as religiously affiliated institutions, are in a unique position to be at the forefront of environmental sustainability. As has been discussed, the deeper sources of the ecological crisis are modern anthropocentrism. Catholic colleges and universities, Pope Benedict XVI wrote, echoing the concerns of Pope Francis, to be at the forefront of environmental. The brutal consumption of creation begins where God is missing, where matter has become simply material for us, where we ourselves are the ultimate measure, where everything is simply our property. The waste of creation begins where we no longer recognize. The brutal consumption of creation begins where God is missing, where matter has become. The response to the ecological crisis is not simply environmental solutions and sustainable everything is simply our, although these are of course a waste of creation begins, but demands an understanding that God abides in solidarity with all of creation. Should we re-envision all of creation and the divine in such a way, a renewed sense of our interconnectedness to our natural environment will follow. Ultimately, the life of faith holds a perspective on the ecological crisis that is not entailed in secularism and the divine in Catholic universities and colleges should be inspired to understand the contribution that their unique religious charism, the life of faith, implementing Pope Francis's vision for ecological education will not only help secure the fate of our common home, but will also help secure the fate of Catholic colleges and universities in this country. As Theodore Hesher intends in regard to the future of Catholic colleges and universities, we cannot avoid facing frankly the dangers and difficulties that confront us along the road of present and future development. But neither should we be timid, unimaginative, or defensive. In fact, what we need most at this juncture of our history are all the qualities of a pioneer, vision, courage, confidence, and a great hope inspired by faith, and ever revivified by love and direction. In fact, in light of Pope Francis's concept of ecological education, I hope this paper has offered such a vision of courage for Catholic colleges and universities as they move forward into the future. It is my firm conviction that Catholic ecological education holds the promise to bring about the ecological conversion offered to save our such a vision of courage. The task of the Catholic University is to have the courage to build their mission from the heart of the ecosystem, conviction to hear the groaning of creation, and to let their educational vision be transformed by the ecological conversion. Thank you. Such a vision of courage. The task of the Catholic University is to have the courage to build their mission from the heart.
Bravo. Thank you, Meg. What a fascinating presentation. If you'd like to learn more about Meg, whoops, sorry about this. Oh, there we go. Bravo. What a fascinating presentation. If you'd like to learn more about Meg's work, you can visit her website. I posted a link for you to see. Meg, if you'll keep your eye on the chat, if anybody has questions for Meg, please post in chat or Facebook or YouTube Live, and Meg will be happy to respond to your questions. I'm actually very proud of the work that's being done on Catholic university campuses. The Catholic Climate Covenant is the association of Catholic universities that are focusing on implementation of Laudato Si. And I know a lot of universities are going department by department and talking about how can we rethink our our departmental mission in light of Laudato Si. Is that going on at Fordham?
Theologians and ethicists in this department, namely, Dr. Christiana Zenner and also Professor Emeritus Dr. Elizabeth Johnson, there's been a critical call, especially from the theology department, to begin rethinking and ethicists in this department and make more, namely, Dr. Christiana Zenner and also Professor Emeritus Dr. Elizabeth Johnson, there's been a critical call, especially from the theology department, to begin rethinking and ethicists in this department and make more, namely, Dr. Christiana Zenner and also Professor Emeritus Dr. Elizabeth Johnson, there's been a critical call, especially.
Are you still there, Meg? Are you still there, Meg? Yeah, I'm sorry. I had an audio or video problem there. So, I know at the University of Dayton, they are putting solar panels on buildings. They were one of the first universities in the country to divest their billion-dollar endowment portfolio of carbon extraction industries. And they do a lot of work in engineering on alternate energy systems, in environmental studies. They've got a large prairie reserve at the Marinus Monastery, Bergamo, where they teach kids environmental principles. The one bastion of conservative thought is the business school, where professors still think in terms of voluntary effort, voluntary environmental compliance, or environmental compliance that translates into savings that not necessarily passes back to stakeholders, but it goes to shareholders. And if ever there's a department that needs theological conversion, it's the business school. Is this the experience at Fordham? If ever there's a department that needs theological conversion, it's the business school. There we go.
Doing incredible things.
Theological
and,
conversion.
At the same time, I think it is a greater challenge for not just the business school at Fordham, but really any business school, to follow what Pope Francis is calling us to, which is to critique the individualism that is at the center, a greater challenge for not just the business market at Fordham, but really whether or not it's capitalism in and of itself that is the root of the evils is left to be debated. But Pope Francis is specifically saying that there is an individualism that not just the business market is a result of the capitalist market in and of itself. So how can business schools seek to left to be debated, but be in solidarity with the created order, with the groaning of creation? And how can they really critique not as the consumerism, the materialism, and the individualism that has perpetuated our harm towards the environment, but be in solidarity with the created order, with the groaning of creation? And how can they really critique not as the consumerism, the materialism?
So there we go. one of the principles you elucidated is the ability to identify with those who suffer, and most people are far removed from those who do feel the effects of climate damage. Last week we had a gentleman from Argentina who was organizing a group of children living in an area that is being impacted by desertification. All the agriculture is drying up. The water supplies are affected. I don't know that we're telling those stories in the universities.
That I hope to see in the future of not just my theology department, but of all the departments at Fordham and at Catholic universities, and hopefully secular universities as well, is the ability for this generation and all of us to be desensitized to at Fordham the reality of ecological degradation. Secular universities, we see it, we hear the facts, we know it's happening. But how do we create this generation for whom to be the facts and the realities provoke the reality of ecological degradation? And I think a part of that is, as you rightly pointed out, Stephen, the ability to be in solidarity with those who are being affected by environmental degradation. I don't know as of now, and I think universities that are doing this, as you rightly pointed out, the ability to be in the United States, but I do know that the Jesuit University in the Philippines is asking all of its students to, I don't know, as of undertake or participate in a ecological praxis where all the students that come into the university have to accompany a community that is specifically being harmed by environmental degradation. And I think that the building of those relationships, being in solidarity with people most affected by it, can allow us to see a different reality and can allow us to not become desensitized. As a place like Fordham, we're situated in the middle of building of those relationships, but you don't need to go that far to see the realities or to understand the realities of environmental degradation. There are food deserts right outside the gates of this university. A place like uneven or unequal access to healthy food is probably one of the biggest ones right here. Seeing the effects on people's health specifically. There are food deserts right outside. So these are all things that I think we don't need to go that far to see the effect. Being in solidarity with those persons is a way in which we cannot become desensitized. Right here, seeing the effects on people's health specifically. There are food deserts right outside. So these are all things that I think we just.
Elise asks, can you elaborate a little on the kind of pedagogy needed at universities to address the value-based environmental ethics? Elise is from Kenya, a lecturer in Kenya. Value-based environmental ethics. Elise is from Kenya.
Thank you for that question. I don't know if my initial response got cut off in the video.
Ethics. Elise is from Kenya.
Thank you for that question. Now, all right, Elise, thank you for your question. It's interesting. I think that there's a couple things I want to say here. The first is that different universities around the world are going to hold.
Am I on now? All right, Alicia, thank you for
different,
your question.
levels of responsibility.
You know,
in
it's interesting. I think
causing
or perpetuating.
there's a couple
the
things
environmental
I want to
crisis.
say here.
So,
For an example, I was just
different
drawing upon a university in a Jesuit university in the Philippines.
Thank you for your
That university
levels
will
of
probably have
responsibility.
less of a responsibility, in my understanding,
There's a couple
than
things
some
I
of
wanna
the
say
privileged
here.
universities in the
So, for an
United States of
example,
America.
I was just
or in
drawing
Europe
upon a university
that
in the
have
world,
perpetuated this certain posture to the
that
university
university
level
will
probably have
less of a
so that's the first
responsibility.
thing to note,
In
that
my
different
understanding,
universities should
there's
have
some
different
of the
levels
privileged
of
universities in
pedagogy
Europe,
based on their the site of their privilege and in the context of their own university.
certain posture to
that
the
university
university
level. The second thing that I want to say is that,
so that's the first thing to note.
drawing on that, I think that
Universities should
ecological
have
practice, an
levels
ecological
of
practice
pedagogy
program
based
is
on
probably one of the greatest assets of
privilege and
pedagogy that we
their
can
own
have as
posture.
Christians, and especially
Second thing that I want to
as
say
Christians
is that,
rooted in seeking to build the
drawing on
reign
that,
of
I think
God
that
on earth.
ecological
We can look to the work of liberation theologians. I pointed out John Sobrino, but there are many others who've drawn upon the theory that practice within education can help transform our understanding of what it means to be a learner. And we can look to the work of liberation. So I think that ecological practice will be very important mode of pedagogy. How are your students encountering those who are affected by environmental degradation? How are they affecting the spaces? So I think that ecological, but also the creatures. Are they going to the places where environmental degradation, the effects of environmental degradation are being seen? So I think that that's one mode. So I think that as for other are they I'll speak, to broadly all the departments at the university and specifically the theology department. But I think that all departments and the administration of the university can do well to incorporate pedagogy, as Pope Francis asks us to broadly all the materialism and departments of the university and consumerism. But especially for me, there is a call within our theology department, the administration of the perspective, to critique the models pedagogically critique models of God that create a harmful posture for the environment. So we can look to the opening lines in Genesis. Are we created to be dominant? That persons, are we created to be persons who dominate the earth, or are we created to be stewards? And not only stewards, but are we invited to a form of conversion that allows to see that God is in fact permeating nature that's around us? I think that that's a job of theology departments, or also all departments. And not only so, I hope that answers your question. But thank you for conversion that allows to see that God is in fact permeating nature that's around us. I think that that's a job of theology departments, or also all departments. And not only so, I hope that answers your question.
Having some feedback problems today. Professor Robert Hurd from Xavier, who teaches biology, comments that his students have done much research on polluted creeks nearby them, and he mentions Pope Francis' endorsement of an organization a few weeks ago which tries to get everyone clean water. So there's an example of reaching out and pointing to the examples. Are there any other questions out there today? Okay. Meg, thanks. That was a really terrific lecture. And I'm going to be editing and thinking about this, and I'm going to have lots of questions. So I'll be in touch. Do you have any thoughts or prayers for us in conclusion? Do you have any?
To speak.
Do you have any thoughts or prayers for us?
Certainly encourage everybody to continue to read, especially the work of some people that are in our theology department. Dr. Christiana Zenner's latest book on a second edition of Just Water just came out. Specifically, speaking to Robert on access to clean water. So there's a lot of people that are doing good work to kind of develop these themes. Dr. Christiana Zenner's but I'm just grateful for the opportunity to have spoken with all of you, to thank everybody who joined in today. And please, you have access to my website, but please feel free to email me with any follow-up. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And I just hope that we all can continue to work for the care of please, you have access to my website, but please feel free to email me with any follow-up. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
Amen. Thank you, Meg. I'll now share a 2-minute overview of globethics.net, and then we'll close with a dramatic illustrated reading from Laudato Si.
As the world becomes increasingly interconnected and the problems of today grow in severity and size, impacting more and more people, the importance of ethics and values-driven leadership has never been greater. At globethics.net, bearing in mind this reality, we believe that access to knowledge, resources on ethics and values, and the empowerment of people from all over the world, from a religious and non-religious perspective, will improve ethical reflection, action, and cooperation at both a local and global level. For this reason, we promote values-driven leadership for life and sustainable development through the expansion of a global online network. GlobeEthics.net is based on 6 fundamental values: responsibility, sharing, respect, inclusion, justice, fairness, integrity. To translate these values into action, we provide access to resources, we facilitate networking, we stimulate research, we develop projects that put ethics and values into practice, with a focus on higher education institutions, business schools, students, and teachers. And we also work together with the business, religious, and public sectors. We concentrate primarily on educational ethics and work also on public services ethics, economic ethics, and inter-religious ethics. This is expressed through 4 main activities.
Sorry for the interruption. Please join us next week. Our keynote speakers will be Stuart Wallace and Norman Kirkland. Stuart Wallace has long been an advocate for transition to a new economic system. He earned degrees in natural sciences at Fitzwilliam College, Cambridge, and obtained a Master of Science in Business and Economics from the London Business School. Stuart spent 1976 to 1983 with the World Bank in Washington, D.C., working on industrial and financial development in East Asia. He joined Oxfam in 1992 as International Director with responsibility laterally for 2,500 staff in 70 countries and for all Oxfam's policy, research, development, and emergency work worldwide. Stuart joined the New Economics Foundation as Executive Director in November 2003. He is a trustee of the Overseas Development Institute and Habitat for Humanity. He is a fellow of the Club of Rome. Stuart has co-authored or authored several books, including Democracy and Capitalism, Surviving the Century, Facing Climate Chaos and Other Global Challenges, and From Old Economics to New Economics, Radical Reform and a Sustainable Future. Stuart has come out of retirement to voluntarily help to run Wellbeing Economy Alliance. Next week, he'll talk about how the predominant economic system has become addicted to GDP growth at all costs and has lost sight of the larger goal of sustainable well-being, what we need to do, and what can be done. Our second speaker next week is Norm Kirkland. Norm heads the Interfaith Center for Economic and Social Justice and Equity Expansion International, an investment banking consulting company that promotes global free enterprise reform through universal access to capital ownership. His philosophy combines personalist ideas of Louis Kelso, Buckminster Fuller, Father William Ferree, Martin Luther King Jr., and world citizen Gary Davis. President Reagan appointed Kirkland as deputy chairman of the bipartisan Presidential Task Force on Project Economic Justice. He co-authored Capital Homesteading for Every Citizen, a blueprint for green economic growth, enabling everyone to share private property ownership, profits, and governance. After studying law and economics at the University of Chicago, he became in 1960 a civil rights and anti-poverty lawyer before joining Kelso's Just Third Way Peaceful Revolution. Please join us again next week. We hope you'll enjoy these fascinating lectures. And now, for our segment this week on Laudato Si'. On Care for Our Common Home, Laudato Si'. Chapter 5, Lines of Approach and Action. Section 3, Dialogue and Transparency in Decision Making. An assessment of the environmental impact of business ventures and projects demands transparent political processes involving a free exchange of views. On the other hand, the forms of corruption which conceal the actual environmental impact of a given project in exchange for favors usually produce specious agreements which fail to inform adequately and to allow for full debate. Environmental impact assessment should not come after the drawing up of a business proposition or the proposal of a particular policy, plan, or program. It should be part of the process from the beginning and be carried out in a way which is interdisciplinary, transparent, and free of all economic or political pressure. It should be linked to a study of working conditions and possible effects on people's physical and mental health and on the local economy and on public policy. Economic returns can thus be forecast more realistically, taking into account potential scenarios and the eventual need for further investment to correct possible undesired effects. A consensus should always be reached between the different stakeholders, who can offer a variety of approaches, solutions, and alternatives. The local population should have a special place at the table. They are concerned about their own future and that of their children, and can consider goals transcending immediate economic interest. We need to stop thinking in terms of interventions to save the environment in favor of policies developed and debated by all interested parties. The participation of the latter also entails being fully informed about such projects and their different risks and possibilities. This includes not just preliminary decisions, but also various follow-up activities and continued monitoring. Honesty and truth are needed in scientific and political discussions. These should not be limited to the issue of whether or not a particular project is permitted by law. In the face of possible risks to the environment which may affect the common good now and in the future, decisions must be made based on a comparison of the risks and benefits foreseen for the various